The aftermath of World War II was a period of profound uncertainty and anxiety. Europe, devastated by years of conflict, lay in ruins. Millions were dead, cities were shattered, and economies were in shambles. The horrors of the war, particularly the genocide perpetrated by Nazi Germany, shook the world to its core. There was a desperate need to prevent such atrocities from ever happening again. Yet, even as the world celebrated the defeat of fascism, a new threat was emerging. The Soviet Union, having played a decisive role in defeating Germany, emerged from the war as a major military power. Under the leadership of Joseph Stalin, the Soviet Union exerted its influence across Eastern Europe, installing communist regimes and solidifying its control over the region. The wartime alliance between the Western democracies and the Soviet Union began to unravel, replaced by suspicion, mistrust, and ideological rivalry. This division of Europe, which Winston Churchill famously termed the Iron Curtain, marked the beginning of the Cold War. The world was once again divided into two opposing blocs, each armed with nuclear weapons and each deeply distrustful of the other. It was against this backdrop of fear, uncertainty, and geopolitical tension that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, was born. The Soviet Union's actions in the aftermath of World War II raised alarm bells in Western capitals. Soviet troops remained stationed in Eastern Europe, and Moscow actively supported communist insurgencies in Greece and Turkey. The fear was that Stalin, emboldened by his wartime victories, sought to expand Soviet influence further into Western Europe. In a world still reeling from the devastation of World War II, the prospect of another global conflict was terrifying. The development of nuclear weapons only heightened these fears, creating an atmosphere of existential dread. The need for a united front against Soviet expansionism became increasingly clear. The Western democracies recognized that their security was intertwined. An attack on one would be considered an attack on all. This realization formed the basis of the North Atlantic Treaty, signed in Washington, D.C. on April 4, 1949. The treaty, which brought together 12 nations from North America and Europe, marked a decisive shift in international relations. It declared that an armed attack against one or more of its members in Europe or North America would be considered an attack against them all. This principle of collective defense, an attack on one is an attack on all, became the cornerstone of NATO and a potent deterrent against aggression. The signing of the North Atlantic Treaty was a watershed moment in history. It marked the first time that the United States, departing from its traditional policy of isolationism, had committed itself to the defense of its European allies in peacetime. The treaty's signatories, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and the United States, pledged to protect each other from attack and to work together to promote peace and stability in the North Atlantic area. At its core, NATO was not just a military alliance, it was also an alliance of values, a commitment to democracy, freedom, and the rule of law. The founding members of NATO understood that military strength alone was not enough to ensure lasting peace. They believed that economic cooperation, political dialogue, and cultural exchange were also essential for building a more stable and prosperous world. The creation of NATO had a profound impact on the international system. It helped to solidify the division of Europe into two opposing blocs and contributed to the escalation of the Cold War. However, it also provided a much-needed sense of security to Western democracies, reassuring them that they were not alone in facing the Soviet threat. For over 70 years, NATO has been a cornerstone of international security. The alliance has adapted to changing circumstances from the Cold War to the post-Cold War era and now to the challenges of a multipolar world. NATO played a crucial role in containing Soviet expansionism during the Cold War, and in the decades since, it has contributed to peacekeeping operations in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and elsewhere. The alliance has faced criticism over the years, with some questioning its relevance in a post-Cold War world. However, events such as the rise of terrorism, the resurgence of Russia, and the growing assertiveness of China have underscored the continuing importance of collective defense. NATO's most significant achievement has been its success in preventing another major war in Europe. The alliance's commitment to collective defense has served as a powerful deterrent, making it clear to potential aggressors that an attack on one NATO member would be met with a swift and decisive response. Today, NATO faces new and complex challenges, from cybersecurity threats and hybrid warfare to the rise of authoritarianism and the erosion of the rules-based international order. As it adapts to these challenges, NATO's core mission to safeguard the freedom and security of its members remains as relevant as ever. The alliance's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of collective defense and the importance of international cooperation in a complex and uncertain world.